We're very excited and grateful to have a beautiful Sufi teacher, Nura Laird, with us today. Nura is the Dean of Faculty and the Chair of the Department of Peacemaking at the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism in the United States. She's a longtime student of healing and Sufism and has extensive training and experience in community and family mediation and in teaching and counseling children and adults. Nura has worked tirelessly as a spiritual counselor, teacher, and seminar leader. Her teaching today is Choose the Door of Love. Nura, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Abdullah. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. Number one, to be able to reach out to so many of you who are scattered all over the place through this wonderful technology. And number two, to be able to address a topic that's near and dear to my heart. Those of who have been with me in the last couple of years know that this topic of love and choosing the door of love is something that I love to talk about and think about and grow with. So I'll be drawing completely from the book, The Secret of the Love of God, one of C.D.'s books right here, if you can see it. And I'll tell you what pages I'm reading from as I read from the book. So I'll be talking a little bit about the topic and about love, and then and reading from CD, and then we'll do an exercise to give us a taste of making this real in our lives, and then after the exercise, we'll open it up to questions and answers and discussion. Abdullah, do I need to keep it to an hour strict, or is it okay if I go over a little bit? How do you usually do this?
Whatever you want, Nura, you're the teacher.
Okay. All right, so we might go over an hour. We'll just see what happens. Okay, so let's begin with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amen. Let yourself receive the power of the sacred sound, the Arabic. As C.D. says in his newest healing book, these sounds directly affect our heart and our spirit and our body on a cellular level. So when you receive them, when you breathe them in, it can really affect you. Hey, Wadud's out in the garden telling me he's ready for me to come out and do my job after I finish teaching. Okay. So anyway, just let the sacred sounds affect you, especially in the Arabic, but I will be reading from CD in English too. And because it's CD, even though it's in English, there's a lot of power in a lot of these words too. So when I say receive them, I mean like let yourself breathe in the words and the meanings. And if it feels really esoteric or abstract for you, don't worry about the meanings. Just let yourself breathe it in. Breathe in the spirit of it, and Allah will give you the meanings. So the first thing I want to quote is from Hadith Qudsi. Allah says, "Be to me as I want you to be, and I will be to you as you want me to be. Be to me as I want you to be, and I will be to you as you want me to be." That's Allah speaking to us. I'd really like you to sit with that a second, because it's really a foundational reality, not just a concept, but a foundational reality for us as people who are traveling to Allah and a foundational reality for this topic about love. So Allah says to us, be to me as I want you to be, and I will be to you as you want me to be. And just close your eyes and let that sink in and see how it lands for you. Okay, so we're going to revisit that later at the end. Let me just write myself a note about that. Because I want to see if the meaning of that changes for you as we walk through these teachings. So there's a couple things that C.D. says in Secret of the Love of God to lay the foundation for the teaching. He says on page 240, know that to Allah, love is the ultimate goal of all the stations, and it is the highest, utmost degree, because there is nothing after the attainment of love. I'm going to read that again. Know that to Allah, love is the ultimate goal of all the stations, and it is the highest, utmost degree, because there is nothing after the attainment of love. So, we've been walking on this path, some of us recently and some of us for a long time, and we get caught up in cleaning our nafs and in our daily lives and in thinking about the fana and the baka and what we want to attain and proximity with God and the divine names. And, there's all these different things we get caught up in. We get caught up in our practices and doing salat, now weird, and obeying the commands and avoiding the prohibitions. There's so many different parameters that we've been taught about. And in the midst of all that, it's really easy to lose sight of the fact that it's all about love. And this is where I try to keep my compass on love. I try to keep the love in my radar screen. And I ask myself frequently throughout the day, am I choosing love in this moment? Especially if I'm in a state where I'm sort of wrangling with some event or some person. So that's the focus of this class, is where is our compass pointing? And are we pointing towards love? And if we're not, what can we do to choose it? So somebody needs to mute. So again, know that to Allah, love is the ultimate goal of all the stations, and it is the highest, utmost degree, because there is nothing after the attainment of love. Love's fruits are yearning, contentment, and intimacy. And there is no station before love, for love is the preliminary station manifesting as repentance, patience, and renunciation. This is why I say, O you who have a disease in your heart, you must seek a cure which you cannot find except among the virtuous ones, from the worshippers of Allah and His people. Take the medicine from them until you gain your spiritual health and until the eyes of your heart open, so that you begin to look at your Lord and become one of the lovers standing at the door of your protector Allah, the Lord of the worlds. At that time, You will not look to any but him, for he is the beloved whom you seek, and then arrival will be realized and actualized in you. The messenger of Allah, alayhi salam, said, O Allah, please sustain me with love for you, and with love for whomever my love for him will benefit my path to you. O Allah, please sustain me with love for you, and with love for whomever my love for him will benefit my path to you. And then there's 2 verses of Sidi's poetry. Whoever sleeps with his heart devoid of love has no idea how the hearts of lovers are crushed. Whoever sleeps with his heart devoid of love has no idea how the hearts of lovers are crushed. To close the window, there's smoke coming in here. I find that quote of poetry to be some consolation, actually, because many of us have felt our hearts crushed, not just, quote, by people or in the world of people or things that are happening. I know that when you come here so often for the whole season, I would feel like I was getting more and more and more squeezed, like a grape, like the grapes that surround us here in California in the vineyards, when they crush them in the fall to squeeze out the juice and make wine. And so I feel like what he's saying is, if your heart has love in it, then you will be crushed. If you're not crushed by life in the dunya, you'll be crushed by something directly from Allah. And that's the normal journey of love. And I just find that to be comforting, because then that means that when my heart is crushed, there's purpose behind it. And it's not just that something hurt me or somebody hurt me or something like that, but it's Allah's way of bringing me closer. And then there's a couple other quotes I want to read. This is from the same book, and he's talking about love as the secret of life, and it's pages 23 and 24. Allah says to you, O child of Adam, I created you to love me. By my right upon you, be my lover because I love you. I do not want you to be miserable. I do not wish for you misery. I wish for you purity and beauty. Love yourself. I am speaking here about your true self. When you love your true self, then you are loving the true essence of Allah, Allah's self. By annihilating in Allah, by surrendering to His commands and avoiding His prohibitions, you will feel no fear. Only then will you have no fear. It is impossible to experience fear at that time. You will feel only safety, security, mercy, compassion, tranquility, serenity, and complete freedom. Allah says, my mercy encompasses everything, and it precedes and overcomes my wrath, and I shall grant it to whoever asks for it. This is the secret of life. And when he says this here, I think he's referring to the mercy that's behind everything and the love that's behind everything. And the reason he refers to them as a secret is because they're hidden sometimes. It's like what shows itself to us doesn't feel like mercy, it doesn't feel like love. But behind it is Allah's love for us. And Allah says, I love you. I don't want you to be miserable. I do not wish for you misery. I wish you for you purity and beauty. Love yourself, your true self, and then you are loving the essence of Allah. And then on page 24, Allah put the secret of life in love, so love one another. This is why Allah says in the Quran to the Prophet ﷺ, say, if you love Allah, then follow me, and Allah will love you. This means to return to the original love, for the whole universe was created because of love. Remember, Allah said, I was a hidden treasure that loved to be known. Originally, everything is founded on love, but if there's no consciousness of love, then there is misery. And then Iblis, the shaitan, will overpower the person, and the person will start to obey him. If there is no consciousness of love, then there is misery. And then Iblis, the shaitan, will overpower the person, and the person will start to obey him. So for me, what I get from this is, if I keep choosing love and I'm with love, then the shaitan can't get me. It just can't attack me. It can't get under my skin. But the love is always there, but if I'm not conscious of it, if I'm not aware of it, then I'm opening the door to the shaitan. So this is very simple, and for those of us who understand about the shaitan and Allah and the nafs and how the shaitan works, this is a very simple, in a way, a simple prescription that if we stay conscious of the love inside of us, if we stay conscious of love for ourselves, for our essence, if we stay conscious of the truth that Allah loves us, then we do not fall prey to the shaitan. And as many of you have heard in other spiritual traditions, all there is love and fear. So if there's fear, we're prey to the shaitan. The shaitan loves to come at fear, to come after fear. If there's love, the shaitan can't touch us because we're not resonating where the shaitan is, so the shaitan can't go there. Be to me as I want you to be, and I shall be to you as you want me to be. So listen to what Allah wants from you through the holy words that descended upon the beloved prophet and all the other prophets. If you listen, then all the beautiful meanings that Allah wants you to have will be actualized within you through His beauty and His majesty, through His Jamal and Jalal. And then you will attain the station of perfection and become a very glorious being. You must contain the divine love and must behave with the best of manners in accordance with what the holy books say, because it says, this is guidance for someone who is listening or who is witnessing. This is guidance for someone who is witnessing or who is listening. And then reading on page 28, he says at the bottom of 27, whoever is pursuing the secret of beauty, it doesn't matter how much it costs to go through the door. He offers his whole self as a sacrifice. This is the foundation. This is the essential secret. For if you love something, you always remember it. If you love Allah, you always remember Allah. Whoever misses love misses everything, because love is the secret of life. This is why people must be aware and be careful not to break hearts or destroy houses, because this is not a game. It should not be taken as a game. Love is from Allah, and this is why it was actualized and realized in the hearts of the lovers of Allah. It is a very holy thing because it contains the secret of life. So those are the things I wanted to read for now. And I just want to talk a little bit about, life here in the dunya, regular, real, everyday life, and how to apply these teachings about love. It's natural that things happen in life that we don't like. And it's natural that people do things in life that we don't like. And finally, it's natural that people do or say things to us that we don't like. This is natural, it's part of life. We don't like it, so we wish it wouldn't happen, of course. But everything's ultimately from Allah. And so, it says in the Quran, the things that you don't like, that you hate, might be good for you, and the things that you do like might be bad for you. We never know whether something that we don't like is actually really for us, from Allah, actually out of Allah's love for us. And some of you have been around a long enough time on this path or on some other similar path that you've had that experience where you know that things that you don't like that have happened or come to you have actually been good for you. So what I want to pose, the questions I want to pose to you now are thinking about, well, let me give you a minute to think about something. Let's take something pretty recent that's happened in your life. Either something that happened, something that somebody did or said, something that you didn't like. So close your eyes and just think about something. It might be really, really recent, like within the last few hours. It might be like in the last couple days or last couple weeks, if possible. If there's been nothing that comes to you from that recent, then think of something, anything from some time in your life that you didn't like. So close your eyes and just give yourself a chance to become aware of this. Okay, good. Now, as you're aware of this thing that happened, notice how it feels in your heart. Just take a second to breathe into your heart and notice what happens to your heart when you have this memory. Okay, good. And please don't try to do anything to your heart to change it just right now. Just try to see if you can contain being with that state of your heart. In other words, see if you can tolerate sitting with it for just a little minute. And then also notice your body. How does this memory impact you in your body? Does it bring tightness or heaviness or pain anywhere? And just take note of that too. Okay. Now, before we move towards walking through the door of love, just a couple questions. If you rewind your life back to that moment when that happened, whether it was recent or a while ago, ask yourself, what would love have done here? Or what would love do here at this moment in time? What would love do here? Or another way of saying it is, how would love respond to this situation? And sit with that a second and try to do it through your heart and not through your mind. Okay, and if you have pen and paper, feel free to jot down something about this, what you're getting about what love would do or would have done, or how love would respond. And we're going to come back to it. If you don't have pen and paper, it's fine. So I want to talk about my own version of this, which came up just yesterday. Because, even though I want to be in a state of love all the time, life happens and, I get knocked off the trajectory of love just like everybody else does. So something happened yesterday, and I knew that I wanted to get back to love, and I wasn't getting back to love, and I knew that I wanted to choose it, and I wasn't choosing it. I was kind of ruminating and spinning through all the different ways that I felt about what happened and about the person that was involved. And it was, like many of us, it was very repetitious, repetitive, and like looping round and round like the donkey round the water wheel, as Cede would say. And I wasn't getting anywhere. And I knew I needed to sit down and do this exercise, but I got to talk to somebody about it. And I got to sort of leaf through my different reactions and the different ways that I felt. And finally, I went from anger and resentment to sadness and feeling hurt. And it wasn't from one right to the other in one step. There were stages in between, but I ended up with my heart feeling hurt. And it's so interesting because afterwards, I'd been on a walk when I was talking to this person and sort of walking through all this. And then I saw the person soon afterwards that I was feeling this towards. And it was amazing because spontaneously in my heart, I felt a flow of love toward the person, and they were involved in something, and I offered to help them doing what they were doing, and they didn't need any help. But soon afterwards, the person brought me something to show me that they had found, and we were both sort of delighting in that. And it was like, it's not like we've never had those interactions, but it was on the more unusual side in terms of what happens between us in general. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I anticipated that I was going to have to go through a long, complex process to get back to love for this person. And when I look back on it, simply being able to talk to somebody about it for 15 minutes, it wasn't a healing, quote unquote, and just kind of getting to the point of identifying the pain inside of me and what was really going on behind the resentment. Like just a few minutes after that, it all dissolved. and I was left with love. So it's not exactly an example of choosing the door to love, because I didn't know that talking about it was going to lead to that. But in fact, what happened was the door to love opened after that, which is what I'm trying to talk about in this class, is either making a choice or noticing, being aware when the door of love opens to walk through it. Because there's, like at every moment in our lives, there's choice points. We don't see them as choice points. We just think we're being moved down a river, and that this is just what's happening. But if you think about it, there's choice points all the time. We can choose how we're going to react. We can choose what we're going to say. We can choose what we're going to do next. We can choose to do something next that's on our list, or to do something next that brings us more peace and harmony with a person. These choices, they're often subtle and small, but our life, our day, our hour is filled with these choice points. And we just don't think about it that way. You know what I mean? So we don't make choices. So I'm going to read you something that CD says, because he's basically giving us the awareness that we can make choices in every moment, and that we can actually choose love. This is on page 32 and 33, same book, Secret of the Love of God. He just finished talking about Rabia, the story of Rabia, and about this guy who came to Rabia, and he had stolen something from her, and she was really mad at Allah that he had stolen from her. But then things like, basically, she ended up just saying to the guy, look, I have nothing to give you, but I give you my whole self, Allah, you're everything, and I love you with two loves, blah, blah, blah. And the thief, basically, because of what she said, ended up becoming her student. It was kind of one of those stories. And then she says, CD says, this is the language of the lover with the beloved. And beloved is capital B here. And a true conversation between the lover and the beloved. This is the greatest state that any person can attain. And I desire all people. Somebody needs to mute. Somebody needs to mute. Thank you. This is the language of the lover with the beloved, and a true conversation between the lover and the beloved. This is the greatest state that any person can attain. And I desire all people to taste this and to live as Rabia lived. This is what Allah wants. This is for you. The door of love, CD says. The true door. No, sorry. Start over. The door of Allah. The true door through which you can enter is the door of love, which must be purified and cleaned and full of all the meaning of the divine beauty. The door of Allah, the true door through which you can enter into proximity with Allah, is the door of love, which must be purified and cleaned and full of all the meaning of the divine beauty. Your remembrance must be through love. Your prayer must be through love. Your worshiping and your practices must be done with love in order to annihilate in Allah's love. Because when you annihilate in His love, you annihilate in His own essence, in His self. Rabia came to teach us how to love Allah. This is the true way. If you want to travel from one place to another place far away, you must find someone to show you the way, someone who knows the way, and she shows you the way. So, um, so CD says we must, the door to Allah is the door of love. And it means loving Allah and doing what we do out of love for Allah. Now, that in itself, of course, is a journey. It's not like, well, I was going to say it's not like we're born loving Allah, but in fact, we are born loving Allah. It's just that we forget. And the things that happen in our life make, as CD says, rust. Pictures and veils accumulate upon our heart, and then we move away from that love, or we forget about it. It gets veiled and covered over. So by unveiling, by cleaning the heart, we get back to this love. But let's look at our lives and the things that happen and the things that you were just thinking about, and see if you can get in touch with a choice point right then when something happened. I'm going to give you a second to think about that. See if you can find a point where there was a fork in the road. I don't know if anybody here is having this thought, but what just came to me is, sometimes what the fork in the road looks like is, should I just stay here in the situation or should I walk away? And I'm sure there are times when walking away really is a choice from love because it's a better thing to do, but not necessarily walking away permanently, but walking away for a little minute or a respite so that you have time to go do remembrance and get back in alignment with Allah, so that when you come back, you're coming back with and from Allah. But let's say you choose a different door from walking away. Or let's say the situation didn't present those two options. Let's say it presented some other option of saying one thing or saying something else. So again, how would love respond? Now, it's not like I want you to get all hokey and just sort of paste love over what you're already feeling about the situation, because I couldn't do that, and I wouldn't want anybody to tell me to do that. I'd be very rebellious. Somebody told me that. So I want you to have a chance to walk through the state that the situation created inside of you so that you're able to choose the door of love. And as we walk through this state, I want you to try to keep track of what we've done so that you can maybe repeat this for yourself when those choice points come later. So I had you get in touch with how your heart felt and how your body felt. So go back to that just again for a little minute, and then we're going to move from there. Good. Okay. So now we're going to do some dhikr together. And let's just allow our state to be impacted by the dhikr of Allah and see what happens. La ilaha illallah. 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 Now, I'm not necessarily expecting it to be all better, but just take stock of your heart again and your body, and pretend that Allah is sitting in a chair right in front of you, and tell Allah what it's like for you right now, just like I got to tell somebody yesterday. Just imagine that you're spilling out all the different things that came up for you when this incident happened. I'll give you a couple minutes to do that. And you don't have to be PC about it. Just be real. Be honest. Allah. Okay. So let's do some more dhikr and see what happens. And again, let the sacred sounds come into your heart and your spirit and your cells. Let the sound act upon you. La ilaha illallah. 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 Breathe in the dhikr. See if you can let go into the dhikr and let it reorganize you. That's it. See if you can let go of how you were seeing the situation and make some space inside in a place of unknowing, not knowing. That's it. Keep going. And then let Allah give you a new knowing and a new feeling and a new perception of what that incident might have been about. Receive from Allah. Breathe in what Allah wants to give you. And see if you're ready to choose love, or to just choose a different way of seeing and experiencing what happened. And just one little thing for those of you who might be struggling with this and aren't feeling anything different, ask yourself, is there anything that I'm actually holding on to because I think the way I see it is right or correct or justified? And if that's the case, bring that to Allah. Bring your need for justification or your need for rightness. Bring that to Allah. That's it. And again, see if you can make space for Allah to give you something different. That's it. Okay. I'd like to give you a chance to make comments or ask questions or share. So if you decide to come off mute and to share, please try to bottom line it and keep it brief because we've got a lot of people here and I'd like to see if we can let as many share as want to. Okay? So come on off mute and let me know your name and go ahead. Anybody?
Salam alaikum. It's Salam.
Alaikum salam, salam.
I really, really like this idea of having a choice point.
Yeah.
Instead of just being caught in this like hamster wheel of the same feeling and not seeing the choice.
Yeah.
So briefly, what I'm still working on is, I come home from work and the dishes are all piled up on the sink. Well, it's like, I get upset. It's like, why do I have to do this? It's not my job, blah, blah, blah. So, when you said, to take just sometimes it's better just to back away for a minute.
Yeah.
And do remembrance. It was like, just for me, it was like, okay, just back away. And maybe you just need to take care of yourself for a minute. Maybe you need to, like do prayer, because it is prayer time when I get home, So, and I think that was really helpful.
Yeah, it sounds like you found some spaciousness in the process and didn't feel like you had to do the next thing just because it was right staring you in the face, that you had a choice and you could walk away from it and do something that was for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That would be really interesting to see what happens when you come home and you do that from now on. And, one thing I want to add that you're reminding me of is sometimes when our inner state changes about what's going on in the outer, it actually shifts the outer. Believe it or not,
Mhm.
there's this ripple effect. And some of you who have been studying with me for a while have seen this happen for a while, for years in your families or in other places where you've been changing and transforming and shedding different veils, and the people around you who don't even know what you've been doing start to behave differently. I know that that's been true for many of you. And be interesting, Salam, to see if you notice a shift in the outer. There's no guarantees and there's no promise that the dishes are going to be done. You know what I mean? But it's important to notice any little shift, even if it's not the shift that you're really looking for, but just
Okay.
to let the little things count, because there might be little shifts that don't show themselves to you because you're looking for the big one. But when the little ones do show up, and if you take note of them and let it count that this, Allah is now responding to me because Allah says, Allah doesn't change a people till they change what's inside of themselves. He says that in the Quran. So just let the little things count, and then keep your process going. Keep taking care of yourself and making space around your reactions, and going to Allah, taking the time to go to Allah, see what happens, what kinds of things accumulate, little shifts that maybe build up to be something that really matters to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
It's wonderful when somebody shares something that we all, meaning me, can relate to. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anybody else? Hello?
I have something. Can you hear me, Nora?
Yeah, who's this?
It's Rivka, Rebecca.
Okay, got it, Rivka. Go ahead.
So I was just connecting with a, a fear of going into the heart around like listening to feelings and being in the emotional space. And it had this long trail of voices and pictures around not having someone being there for me and feeling a fear that no one will be there. But then beyond that, it was for me when I go deeper into that, which I have before, it actually leads to a place of like a fear of my life. Like the depth of it is like kind of on that abandonment or like neglect sort of level where you're not going to be cared for, you'll actually lose your life. And it has to do with losing touch with the physical security. I don't know if you're following me, but
Yeah, I am. I
just
totally get it. Yeah.
Okay. And so I was just touching into my fear or of not wanting to fear losing my life or my security in life, and that no one's going to be there. And then it had to do with going into that realm of living life about, in terms of following what you love and not about the dunya and like what you're doing or the sort of physical security. I don't know how to summarize it better than that, but it was almost like this fear and attachment of life, like of losing life or just. And then at the end, it was like following with a willingness to give up anything to follow that place of love inside, that you're willing to give up anything, even your life. I mean, not really, but that lack of that attachment. Is that making sense still?
Yeah, you made a really big journey. Wow, it's a wide arc. Going from fearing for your very existence to realizing that you love so much that you would practically give up your existence for that love. Yeah, it's a very big arc. Yeah. So once you end up where you ended up, you know, and we know that you're not going to go out and kill yourself, so it's not literally about that, but you have the impulse, the intention. You know how important intention is, the intention to let go to that degree for the sake of love. Then when you bring that into the situation that you started out with, Rivka,
Yeah.
see what happens when you bring that to that situation, to that memory.
It's just pulling on that root of my identity, which is tied up in that fear of losing my life or security, or it's just like tugging on the root of that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Rivka. It doesn't have to take a long time for that root to come out. It might, but it doesn't have to. Allah doesn't need for it to take a long time. So take a look at your identity with that particular experience or fear or syndrome or pattern or whatever you want to call it. Take a look at your identity with it, your identification with it, and look at the quality of attachment to it. How strong is it? How much does that define you these days?
It's kind of like, it's almost like when you put something in a projector, you know, and Allah starts projecting that mirror or that picture in front of you, and I feel like it's becoming so grandiose, like for me to see it or to experience it so intensely that it's just like I'm feeling the pain of it, and it's causing separation to the degree of, you know, the grief coming to recognize that it's not, I guess the attachment is getting loosened up. I don't know.
Sounds like
it's been very attached. I mean, it's been like, you know, but I think
you're a different person now. You know, Allah makes us a new creation all the time. So take a look at that it's looser now. Do you still need it? In other words, are you willing to entertain the notion that this might be your last hour with that?
Yeah, I feel like the stakes are very high for what I'm giving up to have it, and I don't want to give that up. So I do feel like I'm entering into that place of like unknowingness of what is beyond it, or you know, instead of what's there beyond what that is.
Right, and it is an unknowingness. That's perfect. I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the reasons people don't give up stuff, because of the unknown beyond it. But you're willing to tolerate the unknown and give Allah some time to replace that with something that's the truth of your being. And see if you can make a commitment to Allah, Rivka, that you're going to keep going with this until that truth lands and you really embrace it.
Yeah, I think I have done that just now.
Beautiful. Cool. And I feel grateful to be part of that moment with you. Thank you. So we're a little bit after 3 Pacific, 5 Minneapolis time. Is there another person that wants to share? Because I'm happy to stay on. Share or ask a question.
It's Zahra, Nura.
Yes, Zahra.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep, real clear.
I just want to piggyback on what you were just talking about the unknown.
Yeah.
Because to me, that was one of the most comforting and reassuring pieces of my own discovery. I realized that I was in a situation where I got triggered and I didn't take the time to get realigned. And the whole thing revolved around having a picture about how something should be.
Yeah.
And thinking that I knew that how it should be. And so I realized that I wasn't at all open to the unknown.
Yeah.
And when I became open to that, it just felt like such a breath of fresh air. Just, so many possibilities to be open to the unknown and the uncertainty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you have enough trust in Allah, and it doesn't have to be 100%, but just like enough to tip the balance, which is what you have now, you can be open to the unknown, and when you said, I knew how it should be, I just really, I locked onto that one, because that's what happens to us.
Yeah.
We think that something should be a certain way or it shouldn't be a certain way. And that's why we react. That thought is what we're reacting to, really.
Right.
And something that's really helped me lately is just saying to myself, it is what it is and it isn't what it isn't. Or somebody is what they are and they aren't what they aren't. And just like when I give myself that, there's a certain freedom in just like stopping fighting and stopping holding on to how I think it should be, and just sort of being with how it is, and just like, okay, that's just how it is. And if I feel helpless around it, then Allah help me. Helpless is the best way to come to Allah anyway, right? But if I let go and just be with what is, and then if I don't feel helpless, it's because sometimes I just know I'm in acceptance and I'm at peace. I've just shifted to the place of peace because that's just what is, and that's just what Allah's making. So, so that thought of I knew how it should be is so key. And I'm talking not just to you, but to myself and to everybody here, that when we find ourselves thinking that, we need to admit to ourselves that we're in a place of arrogance. That's the place of Iblis. Iblis thought he knew how it should be, that Adam was less than him and he shouldn't have to bow to Adam. he thought he knew. And he didn't get that Allah, well, it was from Allah, but basically what was missing was letting Allah be the knower and surrendering to Allah's knowing. And so this is really the crux, actually, of what's going on when we're in reaction, because we think it should be a certain way, and we think we know, and we forget that we're not the knower. Allah's the knower. And the only way we're going to get the knowing from Allah is if we do what you and Rivka did, which was make space around it and just go empty for the unknown. And then Allah really does give us the next piece, sometimes really quickly. As soon as we make space for it, Allah just pours the truth into it. And sometimes it takes more time. Sometimes we're not ready for the truth to pour in yet. But making that space and letting go of what we think we know, or how we think it should be, or how we think it was, makes space for that. And I just think that's key. That space, being with the unknown and being with the emptiness of that. And I think my experience is Allah wants to give us the truth right away as soon as we are willing to accept it. Like really willing, meaning to let go of what we think we know. Because He's the Mujib, and He really does respond quickly. So thank you, Zahra. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Assalamu alaikum, Nura. This is Kat Salima.
Hey, welcome,
Hey.
Salima.
Thank you, beloved.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my situation, I had gone to my heart and I thought, oh, I didn't speak up, and then I ended up feeling resentful. So I thought, I initially was going with, I needed to bow in my heart and find a way to speak the truth in that moment. But then actually what was really helpful is when you asked, is there anything that we're holding on to? And actually what Allah showed me was, at least I think, that it was a family identity of myself. And it showed me this 100-gallon tank of like urine. And what that symbolizes to me is sort of the coloring of my family that was put on top of my truth, my original self. And there was a way that it discolored me, and but it made me part of my family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool that you picked that up.
Yeah, and so
you're back with another thing similar to Rivka's. It's an identity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
right.
And let me just say, beloved Salima, all it is an identity. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not the essence of who you are. When Allah says love yourself, and I mean the essence of yourself, because when you love the essence of yourself, you love the essence of Allah. Your identity is more external than that. So it's just identity, and it can be peeled off. And, even if it's familial, and even if it's generation upon generation, when Rivka said she was seeing how limiting it was and all the things that weren't in her life because of it, that's what enabled me to peel off some of my deep family lineage identity things, because I saw the impact it was having on me and on the others in my family. And I'm like, well, I'm the only one in the family that realizes this and that's willing to get rid of it. And when you get rid of a family lineage thing, it radiates 6 generations back and 6 generations forward, So this is a choice point now, Salima.
Alhamdulillah.
Now that you really nailed it, and you've really got a good handle on it, and you see it so clearly. So now it's just a matter of just deciding, am I going to choose a different door now? And then Allah help me. Allah help me to wean myself off of this identity, because it really is like a dependency thing. Identities are, they're illusory until we identify with our fitra, and then that's real and permanent. That's the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was funny when I saw the big gallon thing, and I'm like, oh no, what do I do with that? And I put it down the drain. And so I was wondering at this point if Astaghfir laws might be a good place to take the image.
Yeah, I think that's perfect actually, because the Astaghfir law is the return. You're already returning. I mean, you let it go so quickly, really. I mean, you must have been so ready. And so it's already gone. And now it's just traces. So maybe Astaghfir law can help to clear the remaining traces. But that's great. Yeah, that sounds good.
Alhamdulillah, love
And
to you, dear.
my sense, Salim, is Caduce might also come in soon afterwards. Pay attention and kind of listen for it and feel for it. You know how Caduce comes in with that deep holiness and that really thick sort of soul kind of silence and pregnancy kind of. So just that, I just have a feeling that might come in on the heels of the Tauba.
Okay.
So that might finish it off, in other words.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, love to
Oh,
you.
thank you. Love to you too, Salima. We've covered a lot of territory here with the different examples you all have brought up. It's very cool. It's really cool to be with people that we're all in this together, you know. So I think it's probably a good time to end. Unless somebody is burning to say something and you just really, really want to get it out, I'd be happy to listen. So if that's true, come off mute and come out with it. And if not, we'll close with the Fatiha.
I just want to say we love you and thank you for being
Aw.
with us today.
Yeah, I miss you guys. Feels good to be together. Thank you. Thanks, Abdullah, for having me do this and getting to be in touch with these people
Thank you, Nura.
and share the journey together. Let's close with the Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.